What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're ready to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. My Dallas Cowboys, your Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys actually have some news going on. Today is Monday, August 15th, 2022. Our poll question for the day for you to vote in up in the top right blue box corner. Where should the Cowboys where should the Cowboys address the question specifically? Where should the Cowboys add to their roster this week? Your four options: tackle, quarterback, kicker, or receiver. If the Cowboys are going to add to their roster, they're going to have to make a roster move to make room for whoever would join their team. The Cowboys reportedly making 5 roster moves today. Let's go ahead and talk about it. By Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, that's Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. So tomorrow, every single team in the NFL has to be down to 85 players. Every team in the NFL is currently at 90. The Cowboys technically at 91 because of Isaac Gehlken and the special exemption that they have for him. But for the most part, we're going to refer to this as 90-man rosters, 85-man rosters, et cetera, et cetera. But every team in the NFL has to get down to 85 players by 3 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, and the Cowboys seemingly are down to 85 already. Michael Gehlken of the Dallas Morning News, the first to report that Dallas is getting down from 90 to 85 by applying the wave injury, however you want to put it, designation to Kyron Brown, Ryan Nall, Ian Bunting, and Ty Fryfogle. I know a lot of people fond of Ty's last name, and the Cowboys are outright waiving Austin Faoliu. So none of these moves are surprising. None of these names are surprising. I don't know that these were expected. Our own David Howman at bloggingtheboys.com actually wrote on Sunday about 8 names that could potentially be in danger for the Cowboys roster to be a part of the first roster cuts. But nobody, nobody is really, I think, shocked by any of this. Kevin, by the way, says we need an all of the above on this poll. Early results are for tackle, by the way, when it comes to our poll question here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. But anyway, Cowboys, by the way, have to get down to 80 players on their roster by August 23rd, so that's a week from today. The NFL recently, last few years, has adjusted how they approach final roster cuts, the process of getting down to 53 players on the roster, etc. You kind of have to have a lot of players to get through these final preseason games. If you have to cut too many right away, you make it a little bit more difficult for yourself to get through the very end. You don't want to be playing anybody who's too important. And all due respect, we're talking about this through the lens of football, through the lens of a Cowboys roster, through the lens of an NFL roster. We mean no ill will here. We're rooting for all these players. We want them to latch on and have long careers, hopefully with the Cowboys, but in the NFL certainly, or whatever they choose to do. But none of these moves are consequential for the Cowboys, to be frank with you. None of them are shocking. None of them are dramatic. Ian Bunting was hurt last week in the practice with the Denver Broncos. It was him and John Ridgway, who wound up playing, by the way, against the Broncos on Saturday night. Ryan Nall was somebody who I think some people had some mild hope for. There is now no longer a fullback on the roster. The Cowboys released Nick Ralston a while back as they were making final roster moves when they were still firmly in Oxnard. But Ryan Nall was left. He's now gone. By the way, with Ryan Nall now off of the roster, the first 3 players who the Dallas Cowboys signed in free agency, this is not a joke, I'm not making this up, were James Washington, Dante Fowler, and Ryan Nall. We know that James Washington is hurt. It's going to miss a good chunk of time at the beginning of the season. Ryan Nall is now off of the roster. So that means of the first 3 free agents who the Dallas Cowboys signed, the only one left is a player who Mike McCarthy benched on Saturday night for committing a taunting penalty. Other than that, if you even just consider this positionally, Cowboys have a lot of corner depth. I know that Kelvin Joseph hasn't played well. I know that Nishan Wright didn't have a great game on Saturday night, but Cowboys are pretty rich at the cornerback position. At tight end even, I mean, Jake Ferguson had a great game on Saturday night. Peyton Hendershot had a great game on Saturday night. Jeremy Sprinkle is kind of the guy who's on the roster bubble. If there really is a tight end kind of lurking, it never really made sense that Ian Bunting was going to make this roster. And when it comes to receiver, it's actually difficult to find time to play at receiver, despite the fact that James Washington is hurt, despite the fact that Michael Gallup is not available right now, despite the fact that CeeDee Lamb is obviously being given the kind of veteran preference that we see sometimes throughout the NFL. So none of these surprising, none of these shocking. I think that, the Cowboys are going to be okay. I don't think that they made any huge mistakes, but I know that a lot of people, in talking about the pending or what were pending roster cuts for the Cowboys, a lot of people said, you look on Twitter, you look on Instagram, you look on Facebook. I don't know why you're looking on Facebook, but if if you had looked in any one of those places, a lot of people were talking about, well, I want to see them cut Cooper Rush. I want to see them cut Josh Ball. I want to see them cut one of the kickers. Those things were never practical, and I think that that's an important thing to talk about and an important subject to raise. We all have concerns. We all have qualms. We all have issues with the way that Saturday night unfolded for the Cowboys against the Denver Broncos. We talked about that in our post-game show here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Please do subscribe, by the way. Nobody cares that the Cowboys lost. To be very clear, nobody is worried about the fact that the Cowboys lost the game. What is concerning, what is irritating, what is frustrating is that they had 17 penalties, and just 17 penalties that were accepted. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, by the way. What's concerning is that the tackle depth is so poor. What's concerning is that the quarterback who they basically effectively handed the QB2 position to in Cooper Rush did not play well. What's upsetting and concerning and frustrating and irritating is that all of these things that were treated with such complacency over the offseason are now starting to show a lot of warts, a lot of predictable warts. But that being the case, as true as all of that is, it was not practical to expect the Cowboys to cut Cooper Rush. It was not practical to expect the Cowboys to cut Josh Ball. It was not practical to expect the Cowboys to cut Lareem Hairulahu. Why was it not practical, RJ? Well, because who was going to be on the team? If the Cowboys cut Cooper Rush, who's their backup quarterback right now? Will Greer's coming off the groin injury. I know Ben DiNucci had a solid performance on Saturday night, but I mean, they just can't. They cannot cut Cooper Rush as much as you or somebody else may want them to. They can. You want to talk about somebody whose roster spot is safe right now? Josh Ball. I get it. It sounds stupid. It sounds Ball is, and I don't know what happened to my internet. My internet freaked out there for a moment. I'll restate that. If you want to talk about, if we're talking about those three positions, backup quarterback, reserve tackle, and kicker, and throw both kickers in the mix if you want, Lareem Hairulahu and Brett Maher. If we're talking about those three positions and the players involved at them, Cooper Rush, Josh Ball, and the two kickers, the player who is the most safe is inarguably Josh Ball. And the reason that Josh is so safe in his position and his status on the roster is safe is because the Cowboys haven't done anything. I mean, Josh Ball is literally the only tackle option, the only swing tackle, only legitimate swing tackle option on this roster. Yeah, Aviante Collins is there. I mean, yeah, Isaac Alarcon is there as mentioned. But if we're talking about serious prospects, serious would-be options, serious somebody has to play because Tyron Smith is hurt options, Josh Ball is the only one. And what's frustrating about that is that this was a predictable wart, as we've mentioned several different times. The Cowboys, over the course of the offseason, decided to cut Lyle Collins. They decided to draft Matt Waletzko, and they decided to let that be it. Think about that. A team that employs Tyron Smith, who's missed time in each of the last 6 seasons, decided to place all of the hopes and dreams of the swing tackle position on two dudes in Josh Ball and Matt Waletzko that had a combined 0 NFL experience. It really is astounding when you think of it that way, yet somehow here we are. But to the point, to the roster cut decision, it was never going to be something that we saw. This was, the Cowboys were never going to cut Josh Ball after the first preseason game, and they shouldn't, honestly. They really shouldn't. I think it would be irresponsible. You have to give him time. You've made this bed. You have to lie in it. You have to give it a chance. You have to give it a fair shake. And so that's just kind of that's just kind of where we're at. Our poll question, by the way, today on our live stream here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel: where should the Cowboys add to their roster this week? Again, the Cowboys reportedly set at 85 players now, but our options for you: tackle, quarterback, kicker, receiver. Receiver's got the second most votes at the moment. I can't see why. I know Antonio Brown said that Jerry Jones should call him. I want nothing to do with that personally. I know he's a talented player, but we got a lot of stuff going on here. We don't need Antonio Brown in this mix. I think tackle's the answer. I would love an answer. I would love to feel better about the backup quarterback situation, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I would love a better kicker. I've been screaming about kicker for a few months now. If you follow me on Twitter or listen to our shows or watch our shows, I mean, we've been trying to, and this isn't a matter of saying we were right or the Cowboys were wrong, but all of these things were predictable. You could see them coming from a mile away, and somehow, some way, the Cowboys had no interest in adjusting, no interest in preparing, and so here they are, and they're saying, man, how did we end up in this situation? We can tell you how. We can tell you exactly how. It's because you didn't listen to our advice, honestly. Making sure nothing else is happening here, by the way, but the Cowboys' 5 roster cuts as they get down from 90 to 85 players. The deadline for which they have to do so for our live audience is Tuesday, August 16th at 3 p.m. Central Time, but it appears that the Cowboys are about 24 hours early, a little bit of change on top of those 24 hours. Kyron Brown, Ryan Nall, Ian Bunting, Fryfogle, and Austin Faoliu Faoliu, the 5 players who the Cowboys deciding to move on from in a few different capacities there. And again, not shocking. This is fine. This is okay. Nobody has any issues with this, I don't think. But you cannot just do this and feel like you're good. That's the problem. That's why we're so upset. That's why we're frustrated, is you have a lot of work to do on this roster. You need to be busy scouring free agency. You need to be busy seeing what other players are going to be cut across the league, because right now you're up a creek at a few different positions, and you're up a creek in a really large and overall sense. Today's obviously Monday, and so this is the first chance that different national shows, both radio and television, otherwise, have had an opportunity to talk about the Cowboys. And if you've spent any time on Monday watching any national show or listening to any national show, whether it's radio show, TV show, podcast, whatever the case may be, the general NFL takeaway is that the Cowboys are a disaster from a penalty standpoint. And I know that there are two sides of this argument, I think, for Cowboys fans. There's the side that says this is not a big deal. Why are you guys talking about this? It's the preseason. Who cares? Let me know if this is an issue in the regular season. That's fine if you feel that way, but it isn't meaningless. That nobody is being dramatic. Nobody's saying that this team is sentenced to, ineptitude here in 2022, but it is significant. It is important. You have to pay attention to what's happening in the preseason. There's a lot that you can glean from this information, again, through the prism of context that it is a preseason game. It's the first organized game of the year. There's a lot of players out there who aren't actually going to be on this roster, but when you contextualize it, like we're saying, and you consider that this is a team that has a culture of penalties that led the NFL in penalties last year. I mean, all these things have been said already many different times. It is concerning in that sense. And, we all woke up on Sunday, and I think we were trying to at least I was trying to find a way to give the Cowboys the benefit of the doubt. I was trying to find a way to say, okay, what if we lower our intensity, if we just try to be as optimistic and as positive as possible, what is the best way to kind of sell this, right? And it's that, hey, it's a preseason game and they're going to be better. And there's no reason to believe that they're going to be better except for them saying it, right? Except for Mike McCarthy. He can come out and he can say it. If you watched our postgame show, I had a little fun talking about how I would have handled this penalty situation if I were Mike McCarthy. He chose not to handle it that way, and I didn't have a chance to go back and watch all of his press conference following the game until Sunday morning, because we do our post-game show here on the channel. And when I watched it, there was one thing that stood out, and one thing that, if I'm honest, I really was not a fan of. And before I play the clip for you, I want to say I don't expect Mike McCarthy to come out and blast the team. We had some fun with it, but he benched Dante Fowler, right, for committing a penalty. And I think that's a little bit silly, but at least that's showing something, right? At least that's a step in the right direction. It's a little bit of an overcorrection, but at least you're doing something about it. So, we can acknowledge that maybe there are things happening behind closed doors to impact and to address this situation. But McCarthy said something that, again, I'm going to play the clip for you and we'll talk about it here in a second.
Really the starting point that you go through every year. So this is preseason. I don't think this has anything to do with last year. I mean, obviously you guys get to write what you want, but it's a starting point. Yeah.
Play it one more time. Pay attention to what he says. He's obviously talking to the local media that's there interviewing him. Pay attention to what he says about writing.
This is really the starting point that you go through every year. So this is preseason. I don't think this has anything to do with last year. I mean, obviously you guys get to write what you want, but it's a starting point. Yeah.
So okay, I'm not expecting Mike to come out and blast his team. I'm not expecting Mike to come out and say our team is trash. I'm not expecting Mike to come out and be like, we're a bunch of losers. Nobody expects that. But you cannot blame the media. That's where this is a little that's where I was lost personally. Again, and I put myself in this mindset, in this mode of trying to give Mike every benefit of the doubt, especially because I do think that there are a lot of people who over-criminalize and over-villainize Mike McCarthy. I think he's in a tough spot. I mean, he's in a very tough spot. His boss openly dangled his job security in the name of keeping one of his subordinates in Dan Quinn. And so I feel for Mike McCarthy. So I want to give him every benefit of the doubt. But that just came across really pompous to me, to say, like, you got this isn't a big issue. I know you guys are going to write whatever you want, but you're really making some mountains out of molehills here. Mike, dude, you had 17 penalties, and that was just the amount that was accepted. You had 17 penalties in your first game since you were the most penalized team in the NFL. And so to act like it's this media-driven narrative, this is the part where I'm concerned. If I can finally build this point here. it did not totally bother, and I know this doesn't make sense, but it did not totally bother me in 2021 that the Cowboys were penalized. I think the way they play, I think that they're aggressive, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine living by that double-edged sword, right? You're an aggressive player, and so that's going to lead to some, some reaction, some spillover, some spillage, right? You're maybe going to be called for a penalty because you're aggressive. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. What I cannot live with is the finger pointing. That's what bothers me. And last year, the Cowboys were notorious for that. Mike McCarthy was notorious for that. You think about, there's a team that we make a lot of fun of, right? Like the general, football world, right? We make a lot of fun of the Arizona Cardinals. Oh my gosh, Cardinals are a joke. Cardinals, Kyler Murray, Call of Duty, blah, blah. We make all sorts of fun of the Arizona Cardinals. They lost to the Lions late last season. They lost to the Colts. They got embarrassed by the LA Rams, who were going to win the Super Bowl in the playoffs. The Cardinals lost 5 of their last 6 games. They won 1 of those games. They won 1 of their final 6 games throughout their collapse. It might have been 4 or 5, not 5 or 6. But either way, the point is they were sputtering down the end. The only win that the Cardinals had late down the stretch last season was against the Dallas Cowboys. Fine. Hey, you know what? You ran into a team that was very good early on. I'm not even going to blame you for losing to the Cardinals, but what I am going to blame you for is the way the Cowboys responded to that. If you recall, Mike McCarthy, DeMarcus Lawrence coming out saying, yeah, we were at CeeDee Lamb. We were up against more than the Cardinals today, talking about the referees. That's not a good vibe. That's not good energy to come out and say, yeah, the officials, man, we're fighting the officials out there. Dude, no, find a way. This is silly at this point. And so the blame is never on the Cowboys. The blame is never, to be more specific here, on Mike McCarthy. The blame is seemingly always at all times on somebody else, anybody else, literally anybody else. Now the blame is falling at the feet of the media who are writing these stories. Let's play the clip one more time.
This is really the starting point that you go through every year. So this is preseason. I don't think this has anything to do with last year. Obviously, you guys get to write what you want, but it's a starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's not a problem. You guys write what you want to write. You guys make a big old deal. You guys make your narrative mountain, and we'll be good. We know the truth. Mike, the truth is that you're not accepting what's happening here, at least not publicly. I hope that you are privately. So, hey, it is what it is. Kevin offers, just like last year, trying to pretend it's not a problem. That's the thing, man. You cannot just put your fingers in your ears and say, la, 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 la. No, it's a real thing. It's a very, very real thing. And it's important, again, to acknowledge it's the preseason. It's just a preseason game, preseason competition, preseason rosters on both sides of the ball, both sides of the field here. So it isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it isn't nothing. And so to act like it's nothing makes it seem like you don't identify or understand that it is a deal. In some way, it is a deal. It is a non-zero property, what is happening here. And so you have to acknowledge that, or else you're just ignorant to what is around you. You're ignorant to reality. So it's tough. Pete says, not many good tackles left. They better get on it. Hey, Pete, I agree with you. Our poll question here today throughout our live show, by the way YouTube works, in case anyone is unaware, we do have poll questions. We do live shows every day here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. By the way, tomorrow on Tuesday is a twofer. You get me doing a live show in the afternoon, and then we have our live Blog of the Boys roundtable. So we've got 2 polls coming for you tomorrow. But the way YouTube works, for whatever reason, the polls are only available to be voted on during the live show. So if you do watch this show after the fact and you're wondering, like, hey, RJ's been talking about this live poll option or whatever, I don't see it. That's just the way YouTube works. So, don't blame me, blame YouTube. Although YouTube, we love you. But the question today, where should the Cowboys add to their roster this week? The 4 options: tackle, quarterback, kicker, and receiver. So far, tackle, the overwhelming favorite, 87% of the vote. And I agree with you, Pete. There aren't a lot of options. And so that's something that a lot of Cowboys fans like to say and like to respond. Well, let's see the list. Let's see the list of available free agents. Who's out there that the Cowboys should be signing? Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's not an easy thing. And Pete, I know you weren't coming at it in an aggressive way, but today's August 15th. There are not good tackles available on August 15th. You know when the better tackles are available? In March. You know when the better tackles are available? In April. That's when you have to get up off the couch like Suri and Survivor, and you have to make a move. You cannot just let this drag out and then be shocked by the predictable results here. And that's where we're at here. Let's see. Kevin notes, same problem for all these positions except receiver because Dallas puts its head in the sand this offseason. Thank you, Kevin, for making my point as well. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, what kickers are available? Yeah, you're right. There's nothing available. It's August. The season starts in less than a month. Of course there's nobody available. I mean, you're trying to buy tickets to the concert 10 minutes before the curtain goes up. It's not possible. It's not feasible. It's not practical. And you cannot be stunned by the result. You cannot be, I'll tell you what. I know my parents don't listen to this, but when I was in college, my freshman year, my physics class, super hard. Guess what? Physics in college, definitely a difficult thing. A test at a certain point, it was super hard, didn't study, thought I could, just kind of make my way through it. And I got to the test and I was like, hey, this is super hard. I didn't study for this at all. And I got a 27 on that test. I will never forget. And I was amazed that I got a 27. But I wasn't surprised. You know what I mean? It wasn't unfair. It wasn't ridiculous. It wasn't the test's fault or the professor's fault. It was my fault. I had every opportunity and every ability to study, and I didn't. And when the time came for me to take the test, I was not prepared. And so the next time I took a test, you know what I did? I said, hey, the test is in a couple of weeks. I should start studying now. The test is in a couple of days. I should up my studying, right? That's how this works. You cannot get to test time and think that you can study it all and pass with flying colors. That is not the way it works. Pete offers Eric Fisher, Darrell Williams, Nate Solder, Mike Remmers, still way better than Josh Ball, though, LOL. Look, I'm not trying to defend Josh Ball. I recognize the way he entered the NFL, so I'm not at all, this isn't that. But I feel for Josh Ball, Lareem Harulahu, Jonathan Garibay, and to a degree, Cooper Rush, because the Cowboys have made them the face of these levels of dysfunction at these positions, right? Josh Ball is the punchline. Josh Ball sucks. Josh Ball's a loser. Josh Ball this, Josh Ball that. All of that is true. But it's also true that the Cowboys, on purpose, of sound mind, decided to go at this season. As far as the swing tackle position was concerned, they moved on from Lyle Collins. I'm not trying to relitigate that. Fine, you moved on from Lyle. So be it. Water under the bridge. But your plan for your swing tackle on the team that starts Tyron Smith in the year 2022 was two dudes who have a combined zero amount of NFL experience. It was a reckless way to go about this. So here we are. Cobra Cast says, who said the Cowboys are stunned? Front office is treating this as a rebuild year, saving all their money to pay their young guys next year, building through the draft. Cobra Cast, I'm not saying that I'm not saying this about your point specifically. That's dumb. You don't have to do that. I mean, we have learned time and 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 then another time and time and time and then some more time and time and time and time and then just a few more time and time and times again that you don't have to do it. This isn't 1983 where you have to just build through the draft, where you have to get lucky, where you have to hope, you have to build your cornerstones and find the players from the Power 5 conference. No, this is the NFL. You can turn this around in an odd. That was a good snap. If anybody heard that, that was like a sound effect snap. You can turn things around so quickly. You don't have to be impatient. And the Cowboys are pawning that off as some lie because they're not willing to get involved the way other teams are. You look at teams like the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Rams, the LA Chargers, and it's not just the Rams, it's teams who understand and identify that they have a window and they can strike, and they surround the best player on their team. They surround their quarterback with help around them. And so I don't know why the Cowboys, and it was an awesome article. Everybody should go read what Todd Archer wrote this morning over at ESPN. It was about how, in fact, let me find the title here so I don't butcher it. Todd Archer wrote about, obviously, we're all talking about Dak Prescott. By the way, we had an exclusive interview with Dak Prescott. You can listen to that here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. If you go back in our feed, it is an audio interview only. Our apologies. He was only available in an audio fashion. I know his voice sounds funny. He was hoarse. He did a lot of interviews throughout the day, but you can listen to that in our channel, in our feed, if you would like. But here we go. Todd Archer's article about the Cowboys today, his tweet rather read, Dallas Cowboys banking on Dak Prescott to elevate inexperienced receivers. Why? Why are you doing this? Let's get this caption up on the screen. Again, this is ESPN's Todd Archer. Dallas Cowboys banking on Dak Prescott to elevate inexperienced, it's hard to type while speaking, receivers. Okay. This is ESPN's article today. Why? Why is that the plan? Why are you doing this? Who is making you do this? Why do you have to bank on anything? That's dumb to me. You don't have to bank. You can have multiple options. You do not have to, go one path. Widen the net. You know, like widen the net, surround your offense, surround your team with great players so that if Dak cannot elevate these receivers, and I don't mean to turn this into that kind of discussion, but that if he cannot, or if he doesn't, or if one of whatever million possible hypothetical things happen, you are protected. You are safe. I mean, who would do this? Like, why would you not hedge your bet in any way, shape, or form if you had the resources to do so, which the Cowboys do? This is so silly to say, you know what? We'll just let Dak carry us. I mean, like, why go with Superman when you can have the Avengers? You know, I know it's a dumb way to put it too, but like, you don't have to limit yourself to just one player, one person, one quarterback. That's so silly. That is a regressive way of thinking. That is an archaic way of thinking. That is moving backwards from a philosophical perspective. You do not have to do that. And we've talked about many different teams. You look at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills fell an inch short last year of the AFC Championship game. So you know what they did? They went out and they got Von Miller. They overpaid. Do you think they cared that they overpaid? No, because they want to make up that inch. The LA Rams are continually reloading. The LA Chargers, they realize they have Justin Herbert. They don't care that they're in a tough division. They don't feel like they have to put it all on Justin Herbert's shoulders. They trade for Khalil Mack to pair with Joey Bosa. They obviously have a cast on offense that is really great and stout in its own right. The Kansas City Chiefs, yes, they trade away Tyreek Hill. We've talked about all these examples in different videos in the past, but they say, okay, we're trading away Tyreek. That's not working out anymore. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to sign Juju Smith-Schuster. We're going to sign Marcus Valdes-Scantling. We're going to draft Sky Moore. We're going to restock the shelves. Pete says, I don't even mind that we don't spend money. Just get some proven vets who have made plays in this league. Our backups basically have no NFL experience. That's the other thing too. Like, I mean, I agree with Pete. Like, it's not just, I would disagree still, and I know what you're saying, Pete, but I would disagree if the Cowboys said we just want to build to the draft. That was the point, right? We just want to build to the draft. Okay, cool. If you're stocked with first-round picks all across the board, right? If you're just stockpiling all these picks and you're just spending them left and right, and you've got all that kind of talent, then you're good to go. Fine. Hey, if that plan doesn't work, at least there was a legitimate plan there. But to stick to the theme of what kind of inspired this tangent, your tackle plan was a second-year, fourth-round pick and a rookie fifth-round pick. That's it. Like, that's not building through the draft. That's buying lottery tickets and expecting to become a billionaire. It doesn't work that way. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating that this would be not just the way that they go about it, but that they designed it this way. You know, it's one thing if you kind of fell into this and you were trapped and you had to go at it this way. You had nobody. But I have never seen, somebody want to ruin their team more than the Cowboys this offseason. It's a very, very frustrating thing to watch, if that isn't obvious, by the way. But our poll results for anyone watching live, 81% of voters say that the Cowboys should add to their roster at the tackle position because a fourth-round pick and a fifth-round pick are probably not enough, right? That's kind of how we feel, ultimately. In case you missed it, the Cowboys reduced their roster from 90 to 85 players on Monday. Kyron Brown, Ryan Nall, Ian Bunting, Ty Fryfogle, and Austin Faoliu, the 5 players who they moved on from. They are now at 85 players. They have to be at 80 by next week. So this is just kind of part of the song and dance. We got a couple more weeks to go. Then we'll have the bye week, and then it's regular season time. But all throughout the entire time, the run-up, the fun, the sadness, the joy, the jubilation, the terror, the disappointment, whatever the case may be, we're going to be here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We have live shows or videos. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but we always make sure to get you something every single weekday here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. So we're here. We would love if you subscribed. That would be awesome. That would make us happy. If you have not yet, please like this video. Please subscribe. Those things help us out. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. You can send me an email if you'd like, rj.ochoa at sbnation.com. That about does it for our Monday discussion. And I hope you have a great day. I really do. I mean, I didn't mean to just be super duper gloom and negative and whatnot. I really hope that things are positive. Hopefully we get some news, right, that the Cowboys are taking a look at this position. Those would be the ones, right? Our poll question includes 4 position groups. They seem happy with the state of the receiver group, and Noah Brown has played well at camp. CB Kyron has played well at camp. I still don't like that plan, but if you don't want to add to that position just yet, I still disagree, but fine. But you cannot tell us in all or any kind of seriousness that you are happy, that you are comfortable, or that you are good at tackle, at QB2, or at kicker. You have to find a way to bring somebody in. You have to find a way to add depth. You have to find a way to at least add competition. And you have to find new people. You can't just go bring Brett Maher back or JJ Monson, who knows one of your assistant staffers. Do your job. Like do your job. Look under every rock. Figure it out. Just make good things happen. All right. As Ted Mosby said in How I Met Your Mother when he wrote Maggie on the board, make adjustments and go get it energized. So, like I said, that about does it for Monday. I hope you have a great dinner. If you can, go check out our Dak Prescott interview. It's also available on the Blog and the Boys podcast network if you prefer podcasts. We have a lot of stuff coming out throughout the rest of this week because it's a new week. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for hanging out. We love you all.